Today, we are talking about creating inclusive spaces for dialogue and healing.
A lot of times we have stories that make us similar. We do have stories that we share that could make us different, and we have stories that make us unique. And there is a need for us to create those spaces, and this is why this platform that brother Obey created, it's a space where I can come from the position of my vulnerability as an African woman who's been through a lot. I can share, I can tell, I can also witness the lives of other people that I see myself in on this platform.
By honoring those who have come before us, we reconnect to something larger than ourselves, and we bring the wisdom of our ancestors in the present. This connection fosters understanding and compassion for the shared struggles and strengths of our communities. Reconciliation begins with acknowledging each other's pain and stories. When we come together in a space of mutual respect, we don't just create harmony, we invite healing.
So, in the spirit realm carries over to the material world. Our understanding is deeper in that sense, which is what drives the science of today. And that is why the science of today does not align with the religion of the day, but the science aligns with what our ancestors believed in. And that brings us to Afa and Ifa.
Now, I want to thank all of you that are joining us in the conversation and also those that are going to join in the recorded version of it. I think this is an important conversation for today, and I'm thanking Dr. Gwendolyn, who suggested the title. Of course, this is important for her and is important for all of us. Of course, it should be important for all of us. Talking about inclusive spaces for dialogue, healing, and reconciliation. All these are important topics within the African diaspora community because we deal with some issue and we need space to be able to talk about it. I remember now, for example, how this project actually started in 2013 after I've spent a couple of years here in Italy. So I was just like driven by my curiosity to try to understand the life of other people like me in Italy because I am not an Italian, I'm not a European. Living in Italy, see other people that are living here, I was curious. I wanted to understand the story of the people of Africa living in northern Italy. So that is how the project actually started, where we talked to a lot of people. One of the questions that was actually raised during the conversation was the space, a free space, not really a free space, a safe space for us to talk about things that are happening to us without needing somebody to moderate the conversation for us. Because we can do that ourselves. Among the community, we have people that are really very good. They are professional in their field, so they know what to do. We are not, we are not lacking the capacity to be able to hold a conversation. So we don't need somebody to come and say, okay, it is your turn, talk. No, we can talk among ourselves. Also because there are some issues that might be sensitive to us that we need to share only among ourselves because we're a family. That in some cases, we might not need another person interfacing in that. So the question of having a safe place for all or a conducive environment for us to share our experiences has been very important for us since day one. So, all of you know me. My name is Obehi Ewanfu. I'm originally coming from Nigeria, but I happen to live in Italy, in northern part of Italy. The city where I live is called Verona. If you have read the book Romeo and Juliet, I'm in a place where the story actually took place. So we thank Romeo and Juliet for giving the city of Verona the opportunity to make a lot of money. In fact, a lot of money is being made from that story. There are hotels that are built, restaurants, different places, events that are created around that one story that is written by Shakespeare. which is another way again to say that story is powerful. So today we are talking about creating inclusive spaces for dialogue and healing and reconciliation. And I know that all of us, we are fully loaded for the conversation because it concerns us. We are here because it makes sense to us. So why don't you just kick it started? So Dr. Marcia, thank you so much for joining us. Because you were the last to join just now, we give you the room. Please tell the people who you are and what is your first take on the conversation. Thank you so much, sister.
Hi, good morning, everybody. My name is Latifa, and I'm very happy to be here today. Thank you for everyone that is listening, and I thank my brother, brother Bay, again for creating this room and having us, talk about this important conversation. And this topic is very, very, very important to, our network is important to our lives, is important to our community. I'm gonna start this morning with a story of my friend. I call him my friend. This guy was he moved from Morocco to the United States, and um he called me on the phone about some days ago and told me, Latifat, I am very, very happy. I don't have anybody to talk to about my joy. I want to express my joy and happiness to you. I want to share a news with you that I have just finished my CNA classes and I have gotten a job. Latifa, you can't believe me. I have gotten a job that is going to pay me $20 per hour. That's the way he said it. And when he said that, I was very excited for him because I knew where he was coming from, you know. And I appreciated that call because I knew where he worked before he even decided to go ahead and even, get a CNA certification or license. And now he has that job. He had to work for years. This is someone who spoke little to no English. And, not if, I think even if he tried to express his feelings to his family back home, they might not really understand what it means to live that life of being an immigrant in a strange land. And when he told me, he said, I'm gonna also get my phlebotomy certification. I saw a young man who used to earn $10 per hour. And he told me, he said, you remember how I used to work in that job? I worked so hard. I would stand all day for $10 an hour. And my question when I spoke to him, I started thinking about, imagine if this young man had a space, he had that room or a platform where he could share his joy, where he could share his testimony of what he's doing for himself and how his inability to speak English did not stop him or hold him back from getting that certification. If that young man had a place where he could share his journey about being in the United States, for example, and then but he never had that space, and he had to think about people he has encountered in his life, and he thought about me and he called me to share that news with me. For me, I think $20 an hour is not a lot of money, but to this young man, that was a fulfilling dream. He never believed it. He never knew what it meant to earn $20 an hour. And this is the importance of um, creating these inclusive spaces, in our network. um, I feel that the importance of creating inclusive spaces is not limited, it is very expansive. A lot of times we have stories that make us similar. We do have stories that we share that could make us different. Now we have stories that make us unique. And there is a need for us to create those spaces, and this is why this platform that brother Obey created, it's a space where I can come from the position of my vulnerability as an African woman who's been through a lot. I can share, I can tell, I can also witness the lives of other people that I see myself in on this platform. And I can use this platform not just to only listen to stories, but also to heal and also to reflect on the perspective of other people and take the lessons of their stories to to act upon it and see how I can also be a better version of the person that I'm craving for. um I cannot say much about this topic, as I'm like we can continue to go on and on, but I felt that this story of my friend that I shared was very relatable to me, and I said I was going to share it here today. Thank you very much. I'll summit.
Thank you so much for that, Latifa. Thank you so much. That is really an incredible story. That is actually the beauty of it. Um, you see, there is something particular about the sharing of our story. That while we are sharing our story, we are also inspiring people. Because now we're talking of a space where we will be able to share, no? By the time, imagine now we have a space, like for example, like this one, where we are talking about ourselves. We could easily correct ourselves, no, because it's sort of a safe. We can call it like that because it's we here, the Nigerian, we call it. We can talk about some of the problem that we might have that we can easily correct ourselves. It's an in-house thing, which is something that is really very particular for a community, because the African diaspora, we are a community of people, because it's often called the African diaspora community. Only that this community is made up of hundreds of millions of people. And of course, we need different platform to be able to handle the conversation, because we are not all just mono opinion. We are not all just saying the same thing all the time, but we need to be able to have something that unite all of us together. And if we are able to have space to express ourselves, it will make a lot of sense, because we can correct ourselves, but we can also build up businesses among ourselves. Why not? If I'm doing something and I know that there is somebody within the community that I can share with and say, okay, can you help me with this? This is then, of course, I know that I'm going to be exchanging money, of course, in this, but the money is not going away for the community, because now we have something that is sort of auto fulfilling itself. Okay, Italian will call it auto alimentato, meaning automating itself, because the money come in, but that money doesn't go out easily because it's able to circle around among the people. So having a space to be able to share our experiences can also help in this area. So I really find that story to be very interesting. Thank you so much for that sharing. All right, so this topic was actually picked by Dr. Gwendolyn. So we pass the mic to you. What is your first take? And please tell the people also who you are.
Good morning, everyone. I'm Dr. Gwendolyn Battle Levert, and it's just a pleasure to share this space with all of you today. With years dedicated to being a teacher, a literacy coach, a vice principal, a university professor, and doing international work, I have spent my career turning around low performing classrooms and schools in high poverty communities. My passion has always been about equipping educators and students with the tools they need to thrive, proving that with the right strategies, any school and any child can be moved to grade level proficiency. So, this isn't just an inspiring subject to discuss, it's a cornerstone of real change, opening minds, fostering understanding, and creating classrooms where every student feels they truly matter. And embedded within this is the idea of a book that I read many years ago called Unquiet Pedagogy. It's a dynamic, reflective teaching approach that challenges norms, provokes thoughts, and centers on student voices. Now we come into this idea of inclusiveness in literacy education. What does inclusiveness in literacy education really mean? Well, it means creating classroom spaces that go beyond simply choosing diverse books or having the occasional open discussion. If you notice, I said occasional open discussions. It's about making a commitment, a promise that every child, every student who walks into that room feels seen, heard, and respected. I want to say that again because it gets makes me have chill bumps. That child walks into that classroom feeling seen, heard, and respected. For students of the African diaspora, it means seeing their stories, their culture, and their history represented. Because when they do, and when I do, it's like watching a light go on. They lean in, they connect, and they think, hey, this is about me. And that moment is where real learning begins. So it moves me to a story. My mother and father sent my sister and I to an all white middle school. And we took the bus every morning to that school, which was on the other side of the city. And every day I would go into this math classroom. I was never called on. I was never questioned. I was never asked to come to the board. Now, mind you, I think I told some of you that my father was a very important man in the town. He was the president of the union for Campbell Soup Company. He was also with the Negro League with the Kansas City Monarchs. He was also president of the NAACP. So our house was always run. It was an inclusive home because it was always run with lawyers and doctors, anybody who believed in the humanity of all, they were in our home. But every day I would go to this school, and in that math classroom, I was never, ever called on. I would go to my English class, and I was never, and English was my part because it was my community where the inclusiveness was really going on. In my home, in my church, that's where my mother was a speaker, a writer, and we were taught poetry, Langston Hughes, and all those people. They came to life in our community. But in that school, they said that they were inclusive, but I was never called on until one day the English teacher said, oh, we're going to talk about Langston Hughes. And she said, and Gwendolyn, tell us about Langston Hughes. First, I was stunned. There were no words because I'd never been called on before. And plus, her idea of writing was more the technical parts of it. And we know that kids and adults don't learn to write just with technical skills. They are important, but that's not the real part of writing. And I was called on, and I was able to tell them all these things. Well, let me do a flashback to when I started my student teaching. And guess who was the vice principal of the school? The guy who was the math teacher when I was in 6th grade. Do you think he remembered me? No. I went up to him and I still remember his name. I said, Mr. Preston, I'm Gwendolyn Battle Levert. I said, you were my 6th grade math teacher. He goes, oh, I don't remember you. And I gave him several incidents, and he still didn't remember me. But it was also amazing because he was the assistant principal, and I saw him from a distance. From the time I had that conversation with him to the end of my student teaching time. And of course, I got an A in student teaching. Of course, my supervisor just loved me. My supervising teacher loved me. And the principal, every time the teacher was out, I was the one who really taught that class because he saw my gifts. The principal did. Everybody saw my gifts except that math teacher in that school. But I say that because we can say we're inclusive, but not inclusive. And this was where the unquiet pedagogy comes in. It pushes us as educators to continuously reflect and engage in practices that ensure no student feels overlooked. It means being courageous, speaking up, and incorporating teaching methods that bring marginalized voices in the forefront.
Thank you so much for that, Dr. Gwendolyn. Thank you so much for that. That is really a beautiful testimony. It is important. Now, I want to share a little story from our research with you because it's in line with what you are talking about now. When I first started this research in 2013, I didn't even know who I was going to meet. You know how research works now? You talk to one person who know another person, who know another person, who know another person. Before I know it, I have hundreds of people to interview. So there was this family who were initially in Napoli. Then, okay, in Napoli, in English, it would be Naples. From Naples, they are a Ghanaian family. They came to Vicenza, which is the northern part where I would do my story. So there was this little girl who was 5 years old, going to 6, who was supposed to be registered in school after they have got to Vicenza, in the province of Vicenza. When she got to the school center, and the school was run by a priest. Okay, this is a Catholic country. After they have gotten the paper, of course, from the local council that they could go to school, they went there to be registered. But the child was refused in the school. And okay, this is not the case now that she's included in the school and she's discriminated against. She was totally refused from the school. And guess what was the reason? That the children of Italian will find it difficult to socialize with her. For this reason, it will not be very conducive. So what is the alternative? The parent can take her and look for a private school to enroll her. Well, this it might not be problematic for anybody, but it is problematic for the child, because now the child is beginning to question everything. What is wrong with me? What have I done? When I got that piece of story, I said, okay, this is what we're going to do. We're going to extrapolate this story. We're going to have time to elaborate on it. Then I continue with the research, which led to the first book, The Journey, Africans in Verona. Now, on this particular story, we took it and expanded on it, and it became a book on its own, which we call The Color of Our Children. And of course, that should be a provocative now. Actually, what is the color of our children? In that particular part of the research, we interview a lot of school principals, teachers, students, parents. The question is, how do we live in the school? How do we make sure that we translate the reality to the children? Because many people there will complain that children are discriminating against other children, but how did the children manage to understand what is discrimination? And is it not the parents that are guilty of this? Because story will come out like students that are in the primary school or in the secondary school are talking of, okay, these immigrants are coming to take away our work. But this child had never gone to work before. How did they come to know of that? The sickness is not the children, it's the parent. And sometimes it can be really challenging and sometimes very demeaning and damaging to the children that we are educating, because we are giving them a wrong notion of the society. So thank you so much for that sharing. And of course, I know that we are probably going to come back to it either today or another occasion, because it is fundamentally important for us. All right, so we will move to Reverend Gloria, because now we are talking about education, we're talking about also the society, we talk also about us, we'll talk also about how do we heal, looking at maybe ancestral healing. And to do all of that, we need space, we need a place to be able to talk freely, without somebody breathing on our shoulder and trying to monitor everything that we are doing. We need our own space. Now, what does that even mean to somebody like you, Reverend Gloria? Tell the people who you are. What is your take?
Thank you, Brother Obehi. Greetings, everybody on the panel, my brothers and sisters, and greetings to everybody who is listening. Alafia. My name is Gloria Tinu Ogumbadejo. I am Nigerian. We're from the Yoruba culture, and my people they hail from Oyo, Ogumosho, Awe, in West Africa. I speak from Yoruba traditions, which is a very intentional language. And the Yoruba cosmology believes we are all powerfully interconnected. And there's a continuity to our humanity, holding a balance between this life and beyond. I'm an ordained minister, a psychotherapist, a mental health advocate, a writer, and ancestral lineage healing practitioner. I help spiritually conscious people heal generational trauma and reconnect with their ancestral roots by guiding them through transformative lineage healing practices. And I like to say my magic lies in fusing ancient wisdom with the powerful healing ceremonies to unlock deep emotional and spiritual breakthroughs, leading to more balance, harmony, and peace in their lives. This topic is huge, and as already has been evidenced, we can come at it from so many different ways and places. Creating inclusive spaces for dialogue, healing, and reconciliation in the African diaspora community. I just wanted to hear the title again, and how much is can be packed into that title. In the African diaspora, we carry legacies of strength and resistance, but also the deep wounds of separation, colonization, and generational trauma. How do we begin to repair these wounds? How can we come together, honoring our differences and shared history to create spaces where true healing can begin? Inclusion is not just a buzzword, it is an ancient practice of seeing and honoring each other. In African spirituality, community is sacred. The Yoruba, for example, they speak of unity is strength, ajo, logun. The spaces where everyone feels seen, valued, and heard can be powerful catalysts for healing our personal and collective pain. Jan Levanson, she always says, when we sit together and share stories, we don't just share words, we share life, struggle, and hope. We remember ourselves in each other. I love that statement. We remember ourselves in each other. That's the power of dialogue. Dialogue is a powerful tool for healing. Real dialogue goes beyond just words. It requires listening with the heart. Listening with the heart as opposed to just with the ears. Understanding with empathy and seeing others with openness. By honoring those who have come before us, we reconnect to something larger than ourselves, and we bring the wisdom of our ancestors in the present. This connection fosters understanding and compassion for the shared struggles and strengths of our communities. Reconciliation begins with acknowledging each other's pain and stories. When we come together in a space of mutual respect, we don't just create harmony, we invite healing. However, true inclusion requires deep listening, empathy, and a willingness to see beyond our own experiences. In the African diaspora, where our lives intersect with struggles like racial injustice, displacement, and trauma, inclusive spaces become more than a want, they become a necessity. Creating inclusive spaces means inviting everyone's story, allowing every voice to be heard and honored. We live in times where people are talking at each other, on top of each other. People don't listen, they just want to respond. Malidoma Some, a Dagara elder and healer, emphasizes that the spirit of inclusion begins with connecting to our own ancestral wisdom. He says the absence of spirit in the daily life of our community has left a gaping hole in our lives. Dialogue has been used as a healing practice in African traditions for centuries. It's nothing new. In the presence of truth, vulnerability, and compassion, dialogue opens the way for deeper understanding and reconciliation. True dialogue brings us face to face with each other's humanity, which is the word nowadays that we're searching for, our humanity, allowing us to rebuild trust, which is deeply needed at the moment, and create connections that transcend personal and collective wounds. We're living in times of deep grief. Grief in the diaspora is not merely an isolated event, it is a shared reality that compounds over time. Our grief is layered, grief upon grief upon grief, no space to heal. So these spaces are sacred spaces that we create. It helps us as we mourn not only personal losses, but also the broader, unending losses we feel in our collective consciousness. The ancestral grief of forced separation, cultural erasure, and generational dislocation remains within us, affecting how we relate to ourselves, our families, and our communities. This bereavement accumulated grief often surfaces in what we refer to as toxic patterns, unresolved pain that manifests as internalized racism, suspicion, and with distrust within our communities. But great dialogue is a beginning point for healing, compassion, and personal growth. Reconciliation in African spirituality is a multi layered process that involves community, spirit, and the ancestors. These are our traditions, which we must reclaim. They are unique to us. Reconciliation means seeing each other as extended family, that interconnection that I talked about earlier on, not individualism. This involves mending not only individual relationships, but healing the entire community. Through this work, we create a collective resilient bond that transcends individual grievances and brings balance to the community, something that is the basis of the Yoruba cosmology. This community, our interconnectedness, is something that just the healing is just continuous. It's not just in one place. Our ancestors are the original healers. Embracing and honoring them helps to heal those deep wounds, the trauma that we continuously live through on a daily basis, the wounds that have and still continue to divide us as a people and requires reconciliation in order for us to be free, to flourish as a people, and release our future generations from carrying this intergenerational trauma. We must break the cycle. By including the spiritual dimension in reconciliation, we bring the power of the unseen into our healing process.
Thank you so very much. Those are really deep words. Those are deep words, and they are full of value. They are full of deep value. And thank you so much for that sharing. Yeah, it's good to have people that have lived so that they can talk from experiences um, in the words that, like in the words of Dr. Chinua Achebe, the words of the elders are not just simple words. They are verses. Have several layers. They have significance. And I also really appreciate it when you are able to inject some element of Yoruba tradition into the conversation. What that is doing to me, and I think is doing also to other people that are listening to us, is that it's rooting us in the conversation. In that we are going to the basis, the foundation of the human journey. It is fundamentally important. You see, one thing I think I've been missing somehow in this entire conversation that we haven't have the part of the Igbo extraction here, because the Igbo also is very rich in the cosmology, in spirituality, and we're happy that we have Josiah. Josiah, we are really happy to learn also from you. What is your take on the conversation?
Okay, thank you for giving me the opportunity. I really enjoyed what I heard from Reverend Gloria T. What's that? Tinu
Tinu Ogubadejo. Of course, she's here. She can. Yeah.
Ogubadejo. Yeah, I really enjoyed her take, and it is very, very encouraging. And that also is a mirror to the Igbo cosmology as well. So we share a whole lot in common, and sometimes we tend not to understand that we're all the same people. And then we fall into the trap when the narrative is given by other group, then we fall into the trap of thinking that we're different while in fact we're all the same. So that's this generally adds to the fact that we need inclusive spaces. This dialogue is ultimately needed and timely, and it allows us to go through the healing process and be the best that we could be. Now, I don't have a specific story to tell, but I do have the story that we all live on every day. As immigrants in various parts of the world that we live in, it is imperative for us to understand who we are, where we're coming from, and where we're going. There's a word, a wise saying in my place of birth. It says that if you don't know when the rain started pouring on you, and hardly you can tell where it's gonna stop. So that's a word for the wise. By knowing where you're coming from, definitely you will know where you're gonna end up. Now, in the space that we find ourselves, it seems to me that the inclusive spaces are needed more than ever. And for us, with all the experiences that we've had, we've seen or heard this story told over and over again. An elaborate description of what happened in Italy or Italia shows us that there's something really wrong, not within the person, but within the system that we find ourselves. This is why it's very important for us to now go back and start looking at things judiciously and to find ways to incorporate these things. So when you talk about the what the ancestors have left for us, the theory or the whole mindset or ideology of humanity as one and collectively seeking for a common goal, that is the root of African philosophy, where everybody becomes one and takes a whole village to raise a child. And we cannot take that for granted. The individualism or the need for individuals to have this independence in pursuit of liberty and of happiness, we should be mindful of that. One can actually not one can actually not gain happiness if your next door neighbor is sad. I can say it again. You can't actually have happiness if your next door neighbor is sad. And one might think, I'm just talking, I'm blowing hot air. That's not what it is. So because of the sadness of your neighbor, it can manifest in many things. It can manifest into people getting shot at the grocery store. It can manifest into a whole lot of things happening. People getting into an accident because they overslept or anything like that. So what happened in China has an effect in what's happening in America or in Nigeria or in East London, et cetera, and vice versa. And that brings us to making sure that we maintain the culture that we came from. We maintain the mindset. Yes, we could modify the way the world see us, but we cannot change what the ancestors have left for us. Because in their words are wisdom, and many words that they have spoken has the meaning in them. And today there's a call for every one of us to be a keeper of the wisdom and to be a brother's keeper as well as a keeper of uh, the things left to us. We should embrace these things and make them better. We should modify them. This is a part of our story, and it's a story that we'll continue to tell. If we fail to tell these stories, we become absorbed, and when we become absorbed, it's possible that our language, the authentic nature of the culture, could also be erased, as we are seeing it happening before our eyes. So when we tell our story, we should be united as you are doing every other week here. Being united in telling the story is a forceful agenda that promotes and strengthens us. It promotes and strengthens us as a people. And we have that great opportunity to continue telling the story and retelling them in the face of all manner of advancement. Today we have AI. Every one of you here know what my background is, and I also have incorporated what I have learned, what the ancestors has given into what I'm building. That makes you holistic, having the technology that you build reflect your background, reflect who you are, where you're from. So I call that making sure that the technology is grounded to Mother Earth. In electrical engineering, you have this thing about Earth grounding the wires, electrical systems. They do that because when you ground that, in case of incident, the excess voltages will now flow to the lowest possible potential, which is the ground. So when you don't have your representation of your culture in technology, you are removing yourself from the material existence. The system that we live in do very well. This system, all these systems, they do very well when it comes to manifestation in what we see today, and that is where they thrive. However, the system our ancestors left for us do well in the spirit realm. So, in the spirit realm carries over to the material world. Our understanding is deeper in that sense, which is what drives the science of today. And that is why the science of today does not align with the religion of the day. But the science aligns with what our ancestors believed in. And that brings us to Alpha and Ifa. Alpha, Ifa, same word, same people, different part of the world, different geographical location, but same root. So the branches are there, the roots the same. The branches are there, but of the same root, but you have different branches. So when I talk about Afar, people ask me, what do you mean by Afar? And I explain to them, it is a part of your story. And they look at me like I'm crazy because they were told that Alpha or Ifa is bad stuff, it's demonic. And I said, no, this is not. This is a part of your story. This is the computer your ancestors use to understand deep things that is we're not able to comprehend. So when I tell them that, they start getting interested. They want to listen to what I had to say at this time. Then I take them to school and I explain to them that there's something called Turing machine in computer science. A Turing machine is a black box. It's an oracle, meaning it takes a lot of input. It will spew out an output, which is conclusion of a decision. It's a decision maker, but you gotta feed it. What does that remind you of today? It reminds us of the computer systems. It's a part of the story. It's a part of the AI. And all of that are founded in Alpha and Ifa, especially those that are using the instrumentation where you cast it. It's a string. When you come to where I'm from, the east of the current day Nigeria, the only place in the world where this practice is observed to today is in the west of Nigeria, east of Nigeria, and the central part of Nigeria. Nowhere else in the world you can check that. Those who understand this also will share with you that this is the secret of existence. It's all number based. These things are not a joke. They are mathematical. Way before you learn binary in school, that's what alpha and alpha is all about. Negative numbers, infinity, all of that. There is a computer system. It's a completely computer system. So this is our story that a lot of us are not aware of. And if we want to thrive in technology, we should take these things with us, just like other groups have done, the Indians, the Chinese. But we can't leave this part of our story. It doesn't matter what we believe in. If we leave this part of the story that made us who we are, in the sense of some of us that have done a lot of marvelous things in the world using what was left for them. I have over 13 patents because I understood this, that the technology that you hear people talk about and do is because they are maintaining and retaining their story. They carry their story with them. You see a wine, they call it Bacchus. Then you ask yourself a question, what is Bacchus? And you see Monday, Tuesday to Friday is the name of whatever they believed in. People carry their story with them. And why should we not carry ours with us? Why should we not be proud and say Ifa, Afa? Why? Why should we not be proud to say Ogun? Why should we not be proud to say Shogun? Why should we not be proud to say Chineke? Olodumare? Why should we not be proud? These are our stories, what was left to us. We cannot destroy what was left to us because it's a part of our story. We have to carry it on to whatever we do. I am an ambassador of technology, and I found solace and peace when I go into what my ancestors left for me to see the depth of their science. I marveled to understand that the depth of their science was really deep. So if I can help you make your life simple, easier, it can show you prediction of what is to come. This is not magic. It's the same thing AI does. Because your ancestors were able to master and learn that whatever you're doing in this world is already existing in the spectrum. They mastered that. So they tap into the spectrum, gather the information. What I'm telling you is not new. It's already there. It's just coming through me today. It's already there. So I'm encouraging everyone to carry their story with, and don't be afraid, don't be shy, and don't feel ashamed to speak your native tongue in front of other people because that's powerful and strong. Thank you so much for giving me the opportunity to tell my own story.
You see, I know that something awesome was coming. And we're happy that you are here. All of you are here. Dr. Gwendolyn, Latifa, Reverend Gloria, Josiah yourself, and of course, Dr. Matia, who's another big brain here. But of course, she said she got an emergency, so she's leaving just now because of that. We appreciate what you are doing here. What you are doing here, money cannot buy it. I want to repeat that again. The contribution that you are making here, money cannot buy it. You see, I also do not believe that we are just here by accident, that we have assembled here by accident. I think and I truly believe that we are here on this mission to make our contribution. Our ancestors are speaking through us. We are their voice because we are part of them, they are part of us. This cycle is never going to break. That is how it has been, and that is how it will always be. Now, I was interviewing a US assistant professor. I have done 5 good episodes with him, and they are really deep, from spirituality to our history to our perception. And he told me something very important fundamentally about personhood. That was the idea that he was sharing with me. He's originally from Zimbabwe. And he taught me something I should have known before, but I didn't. That what is even a person? In his description, a person is someone who is not only limited by what is seen around him or her, but who must be connected to what have happened before, therefore our ancestors. Because without our ancestors, we will not be here. This is not a joke. This is literally the process of life. It means, okay, for those who do not understand what it meant by ancestors, it literally means your father. Because without your father and your mother, you cannot be here. So it will be a miracle. Only that we are extending that line a little further. Your grandfather and your grandmother, and then your great-grandfather and your great-grandmother. It's just like the circle is never broken. So if we can understand it from there, we can see that we are talking about real thing. This is not philosophy. It's not something that you need to study in school to understand it. No, you need to understand it because the blood of your ancestors are running in you. Therefore, you have an obligation towards them. But it didn't end there, according to the explanation from this very intelligent person. He said, who we are is also tied to what is going to come, the unborn. Well, in case somebody don't understand the intricacies of that, what that means, it means now that everything we are doing should be fitter according to this lens. If what I'm doing is going to put my ancestors in disrepute, I should never do that because I am dishonoring my ancestors. I'm also dishonoring myself, and I'm dishonoring those who will be here after me. Why should I do that? This is not taught in our school. It should be taught in our school. It should be taught to our diplomats so that when they go out there to make decisions in their negotiation, they should put all this in question in who are you in the decision that you are making? How is it going to show up in the life of those that are going to come after you? Because those that will come after you, the unborn, are part of you. But I think we are very intelligent. We are supposed to know this. Why we don't is because we are playing a game that another person have designed for us. A couple of years ago, I interviewed the Nigerian ambassador to Italy, Ambassador Toyin Awurabi. He came to Verona then because we organized something in Verona, so we invited him. Then I was asking him, Ambassador, why is it that Nigerians still not to be focusing on the rating? I don't want to make the argument longer because I could explain what I mean by that. Then he said, well, we are not focusing on the rating because we are on the run. Okay, now, there are four or five that are Nigerian here, except for Dr. Gwendolyn. If you take a glass, a lens to look at Nigeria, it fits perfectly to that picture. We are on the run. Who set out on this race that we are in? You know how the child behaves? That is how the Nigeria situation, the Nigeria system is designed. Very frenetic. That is all what we are doing. And while we are doing that, we never have the time to reflect. There are a lot of things that we need reflection to be able to get, even though they are object in the front of us. Somebody have designed this game for us where we are just just jumping, like click. Why are we doing this? So this is very valuable, this time that we have here, to share this moment with ourselves and to leave something also to other people that are going to listen to us later. So I want to thank all of you once again because there is an immeasurable amount of value in what you are sharing here. So we come to the part that we are looking at the solution because we are three who will go by that. Each of you that have said something, you will propose a solution. Now, I will start with Latifat. Latifat, please share with me, based on what you have said, what do you think can be a solution? What do you propose as a way to have an inclusive space for dialogue, healing, and reconciliation? Please share with us.
I think one thing I can share with us about like creating these inclusive spaces is going to be from a different level of intervention. What do I mean? We have to start with ourselves first, because we have to start with our own reflection of how inclusive do we also want to be when it comes to accommodating people and accommodating people in terms of um, the African diaspora. You know what I mean? I'm talking about even if we want to be inclusive, are we also ready to include people, ourselves? Because a lot of times with our people, we realize that because of some of the lessons that we have learned, we keep on pushing other people away. and that's not being inclusive. So if we want to continue to fight for an inclusive space for dialogue, for healing and reconciliation, we have to be able to first accept ourselves. And once we are able to accept ourselves, then we can start thinking of how do we open the door for other people to also be able to come in. Because like, some persons shared earlier, some of us are dealing with very, huge grief. We're dealing with trauma. We're dealing with a lot of things that keeps holding us back. So self-acceptance is the first thing that we have to look at first before we start to think about how to create inclusive spaces for other people within our community. So I say that this was a very interactive session, and I've learned a lot from this session. Thank you.
All right. Thank you so much for that. We appreciate it. We appreciate that contribution and also that suggestion. It is highly valuable. All of us are invited to share and to propose also what is a better way forward, because this is our thing. This is our whole thing. We need to find a solution to it. And I'm happy that we are here doing this. Again, I don't think this is a mistake. I don't think this is also an accident. This is supposed to be. All right. I think the person that spoke after you was Dr. Gwendolyn. Dr. Gwendolyn, now let's look at education. Yeah. What do you think can be the best way to create a more conducive environment or a space for children to learn where to dialogue, to learn about healing and also reconciliation within the educational system? What do you propose?
If you can show me how I can cling to that which is real to me while teaching me a way into the larger society, then I will not only drop my defenses and my hostility, but I will sing your praises and I will help to make the desert bear fruit. Those are the words from Ralph Ellison, a famous African writer. So, what can we do to make this happen? As educators, leaders, and advocates, we need to show up. We need to intentionally choose literature that represents all voices, build lessons that invite conversations, and approach teaching with intention and empathy. This isn't just a teaching strategy, it's a mindset rooted in the unquiet pedagogy, a commitment to disrupting the status quo and fostering true inclusivity. The work we do, it's about so much more than tests and grades. It's about nurturing a generation that values dialogue, resilience, and unity. A generation that reads not just to answer questions, but to understand and care. And I think we should make sure our students are ready not just to succeed, but to build a world that's better, kinder, and more inclusive. Thank you for this opportunity this morning.
Thank you so much for that. That message goes home. You see, it is beautiful because that message also is taped, is recorded, so it can be available later for those who are not here now. That is our strategy here, because we want to be intentional about our time. That what we say we are going to do, we do it, but we also show it, so that people who are going to be here after now, they can see the value. You know how I know that? Because each time I maybe go to YouTube, I see some audio, not video, of Martin Luther King making a speech. I am very grateful to those who took the time to do that. Because if not, how would I listen to the speech? It would never be possible for me. You see, we are living in a time, everybody is seeing AI today as if we have got it to the last that we can do as human beings. I said, no, wake up. We are barely starting. Now, just imagine what is going to happen in the next 100, 200 years, let's say 500 years from now. By the time they look back and think of AI, they will laugh and say, how did people manage to work with that kind of technology? Because it will be so advanced, the technology that people are going to have at that time, that AI will be nothing to them. Don't believe the idea that AI is going to ruin the world. No, it's just a tool. And human beings have been developing too before the pyramid were built. And I think Josiah was making mention of that. Those rudimental principles that were laid down by our ancestors are still conditioning how we work today. But they are not stopping the time. They are part of the time. Now, why am I saying that? I am saying that to mean what we are recording today is going to be available even in 500 years from now. But perhaps it's not going to be on LinkedIn because LinkedIn will not be available then. It's not going to be on YouTube because there will not be YouTube then. But you know what they are going to do? They are going to take the material and translate it to the technology of their time. How do I know that? Look at the Egyptians. Look at what our ancestors have done. You can't read the text in the original Egyptian language, but you can read it in English or in the language of your choice. Think, for example, the book like the Papyrus of Anis. All these documentation are available, not in the original text, but they have been translated, which is to say, let's seize the moment, let's seize the time and do what we have to do, knowing that part of us is yet to come. When that part of us come, they will translate the evidence they found in the language that they can understand, in the technology of their time. But at least they will know that we have been here. That based on the circumstances around us, based on what is happening in the world today, this is 4th of November 2024. Based on what is available, this is what we did today. And we thought of them doing this because we know that they will come. All right, I pass the mic to Reverend Gloria. You see, you have a sister, you have another brother today now. You can see that now. There is this connection, and our ancestors are connecting us because we are supposed to do this. Many of us are coming because we are rising up to the challenge. We are rising up to the challenge, and we are going to do this work. We are going to make ourselves proud because we are a proud people who know where we are coming from. The words of our ancestors, the Nigeria national item will say, the labor of our heroes shall never be in vain. It is because of us that they wrote that down, and we pass it on to those that will come. So, Sister Gloria, what do you think is a solution? What do you propose?
Thank you, Brother Obehi. I'm smiling. I've been grinning. My heart has been pumping. Thank you for all the contributions of my colleagues and the platform. Brother Josiah, you blew me away. When I come to these spaces every fortnight, I don't necessarily come with any specific expectation other than whatever we say that those listening, I always say to them that even though in the audience you may not be directly speaking, but you're speaking by being here. And so I'm always trusting that the universe, spirit, ancestors would do what they do in bringing those who need to be here to hear what they need to hear, and those who will listen later on to get the message. But when you came on, Brother Josiah, and you started speaking, by the way, Kedu, I hope you understand that. um,
Odilma.
I thought to myself,
Yeah, I
wow.
understand that. Of course.
I thought
Very
to
well.
myself, you are this is my tribe right here. I've never heard about Afa, but it completely makes sense. Sometimes these words, they're similar without us even knowing the meaning that that's that interconnectedness that our ancestors and the Yoruba cosmology talks about. So let me don't go on because I can, if you allow me to. Let me see, where do I want to join in now? Well, I go back to my Yoruba traditions. The Yoruba spiritual teachers emphasize there's a need to honor all parts of a person's story to achieve genuine reconciliation. This includes recognizing and valuing each person's unique gifts, struggles, and perspectives. Only then can true understanding and thus reconciliation take root. Healing spaces, should not only soothe but empower. We must always recognize the interconnected nature of our lives and struggles. We have to take that on board. We are interconnected. It makes us more resilient and leads to a deeper healing process. What does it take to create inclusive spaces that serves the well-being of everyone present? It includes both practical and spiritual. Inclusivity is a practice that begins with small actions but can ripple into profound change. We should create intentional spaces like this one we come to every fortnightly. Brother Obey, you are a king and you are living your purpose totally. Inviting people to bring their whole selves. In many of the spaces that I create, I make it a point of duty unapologetically to start by paying homage to my ancestors, inviting their guidance and wisdom, and they show up. They show up for me. I feel them every time I go anywhere. Like Maya Angelou said, take all your people with you, gather them on your shoulders, on your back, carry them with you, all those who have loved you, everybody, take them into the spaces you're going. And boy, oh boy, people will feel you coming. They will know this person is coming with their people. How do we listen with presence? Approaching each conversation with humility, openness, and an intention to understand rather than just to respond. It makes sense and is a great idea in principle, but it requires you to be intentional about it. We may unconsciously inherit cycles of survival orientated behaviors that once protected our ancestors, but now keep us isolated, distrusting, and divided. We turn against ourselves, each other, reproducing patterns of trauma in a way that further fractures our collective strength. In the African diaspora, our experiences and identities are diverse as well as sharing many similar experiences. We require the ability to recognize and honor each person's unique story, even if it doesn't align with your own. We must resist this trigger knee jerk reaction that as soon as we hear something we don't like or we're not used to, or maybe we've been taught to hate just instinctively, we react to it. We need to pause and think about what is triggering us. Why are we triggered by this thing? Think about it. Pause. We must resist and reject all the efforts made to separate us and create disharmony amongst us because it's killing us. It's killing us in spirit, it's killing us in mind, spiritually, and we can't allow that. We must break this cycle. Rumi, that spiritual teacher, reminded us that out beyond ideas of wrongdoing and right doing, there's a field. I'll meet you there in that space where there's no right or wrongdoing. We're just human beings. We must move beyond dualistic thinking and seek inclusivity as an open field of understanding. The great Desmond Tutu teaches that true inclusivity sees all as beloved. He said, my humanity is bound up in yours, for we can only be human together. Ubuntu, I am because you are. In closing, brothers and sisters, I want to invite us to remember that each one of us are both a descendant and an ancestor in the making. I repeat, each of us are both a descendant and an ancestor in the making. Let us be the ancestor that our future generation would be proud of. The spaces we create today will be the foundation for those who come after us. With love, respect, and a commitment to healing, we can make the African diaspora a place of connection, peace, and power. Safe, sacred spaces allow us to break free of harmful, toxic cycles and patterns. In these intentional spaces, we can just be who we are. We can breathe, grieve, and heal and be joyful without the fear of judgment. We hold each other up, we support, we carry each other's burdens by listening with our hearts. These spaces provide an opportunity to feel our pain fully, to hold our grief up to the light, and to tend to it with compassion. In these sacred spaces, we are not just individuals, but a community united by shared intentions and ancestral legacy. In Yoruba spirituality, healing is understood as a communal endeavor. That thing again, community, interconnectedness. We can't do this on our own. The West, that is what they teach you. You're on your own. You can do it on your own. You're bad, bougie, and all those ridiculous things they say. No, that's not who we are. We come from a different way of thinking. And until we go back to that and respect it, we are creating unsafe spaces for our future generations. We can't do that, brothers. We can't do it. In Yoruba spirituality, healing is understood as a communal endeavor. And by creating sacred spaces, we invite our ancestors to join us, to hold us in their wisdom, and to support us as we process not only our personal wounds, but the generational wounds that have festered too long in silence. Ian Lavansan said, "We cannot heal what we cannot feel." A lot of us are going around unfeeling. We can't feel anymore. We're dumbed down. We're numb. These spaces allow for that grief, that trauma to come up in safety. These sacred spaces we create are not a luxury, they are essential. They not only allow us to heal the grief and trauma that has accumulated within us and our communities, they give us the foundation to rebuild a trust in ourselves, our heritage, and one another. I feel emotional as I'm speaking. May our spaces reflect this love and extend it to all. May it be so. Ashe. Thank you for listening with your hearts. Alafia.
Thank you so much, sister. Thank you so much. We can feel you. The feeling is important because the feeling goes straight to the heart. That is the way it's supposed to be. And thank you so much for that. We are indebted to you. We appreciate you. You see, now I want to go back to Josiah. I don't know if you pay attention to whatever Gloria said, just a hint that it was the first time she's hearing of the word afar before. This speak of our education, because me too, I only come to hear of it recently, I think a couple of years ago, through some incident. You see, this is supposed to be our heritage, but if we have never even heard of that, how can we apply it? Because knowledge in Africa is of many layers. It's not like the English language where they tell you this is what the words mean and that is what it is. That is where it ends. In African language, is of different layer. They can even tell you this is what it is, but they still have different layer for you to understand it. If we haven't even heard of that, that look like
Brother B,
yeah.
sorry, can you allow me to feel for 1 minute?
Please.
Because I am coming from a place of feeling. And I would like to appreciate Reverend Tino, my namesake, for allowing us to transport with you on this journey. I'm sorry for interjecting, but I want to feel, and I'm currently feeling the emotions of everybody present in this room. And it is coming from a place of pain, a place of wound, a place of the uneaten scars that we have carried for too long, knowingly and unknowingly. And as you continue to talk about this, concept of us being present in the room, I can feel, I can hear, I can see, even though I don't know what some of my ancestors may have looked like, but the ability to be able to share in this room was able to get me to that moment of feeling and me being able to self-reflect based on the things that you have shared today in this room. And I want to say this as we are in this space. I want us to own the fact that cultural literacy should be something that we should be promoting. Literacy should not just be about the ability to be able to speak English language or the ability to be able to calculate mathematics or the ability to be able to just, go to school and graduate and make income. But the ability for our own children, our own people to know the importance of cultural presence, the ability of like for us to have this cultural literacy in our community is actually needed because literacy is not just about learning mathematics, learning English, or learning how to graduate and pass school. I feel that cultural literacy is something that we need for inclusive spaces in our communities, and this can be done through storytelling. How do we revisit those old tales that our grandparents told us? Let us revisit all the stories we have to tell children because when they don't know, they don't know. How do we even allow, if we don't understand cultural conservation or the need to preserve our culture, what are we passing on to children? And with all of the things that Reverend Tino shared today, I am coming from a place of feeling, a place where I know what some of my ancestors that came through the roots of Badag.
We appreciate you. We really do. This is important. And of course, I want to recommend that Dr. Gwendolyn, Reverend Gloria, and Josiah, please, if you can connect among yourselves, because this is why we are here. We are here to connect among ourselves and to leverage each other's experience. This is important because we need to be, I want to say a word that is usually not interpreted in this sense. I want us to make ourselves available to be used. Let's be instrument in the hands of the time so that we can do what we are supposed to be. While at the Adenuga production at the time, they will say that we are pencils in the hands of the creator. Let's be that pencil so that we are instrument to write the history. If we put on the candle, we can't put it under the table. You need to be on the top of the table so they can just shine. So thank all of you again. I really appreciate that. And I turn to Josiah. Please, what do you consider as a solution? You can see, of course, that your interjection here, what you contributed here, really upped the energy in a very high sense. And we appreciate that because what you're talking about, it could really take weeks to expand on them. And of course, we are not in haste. We will come back to each and every one of them. They are important. We are not in haste to talk about our history. This is why we exist. In the film, I think Amistad, one of the speakers at the time, one of the actors said, I think he was about to face danger, and he said he's going to call on all his ancestors that he is the only reason they have existed at all, which means that they are going to intervene. They have no reason not to intervene. You see, what I was saying before, based on what I was taught and I understood, who we are didn't just end here. We are part of the ancestors and we are part of what is going to come. We are supposed to do what we are doing because this is who we are. We can't dishonor this mission. So please share with us, what do you recommend as a solution?
First of all, the solution has to come from inside. And there are many ways to look at it. I look at things from a number perspective, more like a technical perspective. And when you translate that to what everyone is saying, it turns out to be the same thing. There's a need to have the sacred place where you provision it so the spirits of those before us could be present. And all of that, these are not anything exceptional from energy that flows, the ebbs and yaws of energy in nature. A lot of people might find it, they might come up with some kind of ideology of something that doesn't exist and they make it exist in their mind. But the truth is, everything is a bubble of energy. Once you understand this, it is much, how do I say it, it's easier for us to heal and solve some of the problems that are before us. In my case, I understand that money, all these flashy things and material things, they don't worth nothing in the world that I live in and experience on a day-to-day basis. The money is in the physical world. And once we look past that, we will have a common ground, and we'll have a table, a plateau of communication, communicating interconnectedness within ourselves, being willing tools that could be used to solve problems. That's when you understand, when your consciousness is at that height, you can't say, "Oh, this person is doing this to me or doing that to me," because you understand you're a part of the cosmic energy, and you will flow where you are needed to flow to. And it takes a lot of enlightenment and understanding to reach that level. Everyone is not at that level at that time. So I'm suggesting that we work on ourselves first and understand the power in unity. And then we start coming together with different abilities that we have, making sure that we use our ability to help those who do not have the platform or the resource, and we help them out. And we continue to connect, although we'll never forget what's happened to us. However, we're not going to raise our hand to um, perpetrate any kind of force that will put people in harm's way. However, we'll be strategic on how we tell our story, and the narration will no longer be within the manipulative hands of the hunter. So the ones the lion have learned what's going on, that they have to tell their story. And if we don't tell our story, the hunter will always put down uh, the story, put the lion down, and glorify himself as a victor. So we have many things working in our favor. Again, I'll continue to say this till every ear hears this. There is nowhere, no part of the world where people practice Afa Ifa except in Africa, and specifically in Nigeria, down in the basin and to the west and the east of that country. What that means is that if that country pursue the God-given ability that their ancestors wielded over the years at the bloom of human development, they can achieve greatness because nobody else has that. Other people have different things like I Ching in China, or like the turtle bones, the bones and the turtle marks in China as well, and the candle in the water that you have in Poland. They use that to make predictions on the zodiac signs. But in the region where I came from, they have Afa and Ifa. And a lot of people are not aware about how powerful these things are. They think it's some magic. They don't know it's pure computer science. And I understand how it works. And I'm working on putting it on the computer so people can use it to help themselves and to create a sacred place where they can see the problem before they pop up and solve them. Today, you do searches on the internet. What I'm talking about is just like that. You go to the internet, you do search it, it tells you XYZ. You do the same thing with AI. The Alpha Ifa is the same thing. So you see, you heard Reverend Tino say Ashe, but in Igbo is say, but yet we still think we're not the same people because someone told us that we're not, because they know if we continue to tell the right story that we're the same people, then our liberation and freedom will be so near. So they make sure they split it. But how do I know we're the same people? Because I've gone down to the realm where a lot of people overlook, and I found out that these people are the same people. While in the West they practice the Ifa, which has eight two strings and four notes. In the East, they practice the one that have four strings and four notes. That one is more um, exact because it has more sampling based in mathematics. which tells us where the one come from. That simply tells you this one came from here and it flew, then went up to River Benue and River Niger, but it came from the bottom, close to the ocean, and then went through the river to the hinterlands, and all those people learned it. So we have to tell proper story, and that comes from understanding who we are first, recognizing that we're the same, and we should avoid this idea of I'm different from you, I'm better from you, and my tribe is this. Look, let me tell you, we're all the same people. And when you treat people good, forget about tribe. It doesn't exist. People love you because you love them. And that's what this is all about. At the end of the day, the number spells love too. When you type in your computer or write anything, behind the scene is a number or numbers. And at the end of the day, what we end up doing here is we have to love one another. So my word here is very simple. Be realistic. Connect to the what is relevant, and don't try to put yourself higher than other people. Relate to them, learn from them, be humble, and be a willing tool that could be used by others. And that's the path for us to go. And if we go that path, every other thing will fall in place because we've now have the mindset to fix the problems. And that's my story. Thank you.
Brother, you are a treasure. You certainly are. You know that. Thank you so much for that. I really appreciate that. I just want to point out something that we already know, that in Africa, there are two places that are very of key importance to humanity, not just to the African people. They are denied data, that is because of Egypt, because of what have happened there, the historical event. But the second part is it's actually another it's actually another data, but this time in the Niger Delta. You see, people usually travel to water. So that when we are not trying to see what is the origin of the Afar now, it makes a lot of sense that it should be in that region that Josiel is making mention of. So there is a lot that we are not told at all, because we tend to read history from the perspective of the European. But I often say Europeans cannot teach African history because they don't have the material evidence to teach it. Why? Because they came too late in history to teach African history. You see, it was the other day we see Mongopad saying that we discovered River Niger. Oh, come on, Mongopad. Nobody told you that people have been living here for thousands of years. How can you discover River Niger? You see, we think that because it is written in their book, that is what it is. No. Before the book is written is what we need to concentrate on. Because somebody wrote the book. But before the person wrote the book, what was it? So I think we need this conversation. We need to continue to talk about it. Because you know what I think? That sometimes it is not me that is going to do the work. Maybe what I am supposed to do is to sing, is to call people, let's talk. Maybe somebody have the resources to do the work. Maybe it is that person. But if you look at it now, what we are talking about, you see that we are all connected. All of us are connected, but I am not going to do the work that you are going to do. Look at me like the eyes. You see, the body have the eyes, but they also have the hands. You have the nose, you have the legs. The eyes is important, so is the legs too. You can't say because I have the eyes, now let me just cut off my hands. You can't do that. All of us are functioning in different areas, but we are all important. So the conversation is important, so that when we talk, there is somebody who is probably going to take it to the next level. But it doesn't mean because you are the person that take it to the next level now, you are the most important. No. What about the other people who set up the boundary upon which you are standing? So I think, anyway, I'm so happy that this is recorded. I want to repeat that again because now we can rewatch it, we can listen to it again. So I am thankful to all of you. Now, what we need to do now is that you need to use this occasion to let people know how to connect with you. Please use the moment to advertise what you have. Because it is recorded, whenever it is played, people will also come to pick that attention. So we start with Latifa again. Latifa, what is your finance say here, and what can people benefit from you, and how can they find you? as briefly as possible. Please go ahead.
So, everyone, my name is Latifa, and I consider myself a storyteller. Um, I think that what we can all benefit from each other is just the creation of these inclusive spaces and sustaining these inclusive spaces for intergeneration and many more generations to come. I write children books. I'm actually also a mental health activist. So you can find me on LinkedIn here, and I'm also going to be around on this platform. Thank you.
All right. Thank you so much for that. We appreciate you. Those who are listening to you, they now know how to find you and what they can benefit from you. All right. So we move straight to Dr. Gwendoli. Dr. Gwendoli, please, what is your final take? And let the people know what they can benefit from you and where they can find you.
I think my final take, because I wanted to say a lot more, this has been the most, I just can't tell you how I feel today sitting up here in my office and all these books, Africana books around me, that that our children need to understand that they belong here, and their voices matter, and that they have to find where they fit into this society, and they can't do it without someone guiding the way. So my goal is to have more villages out there. I mean, many years ago, the church was our village, and now I think it was Reverend Gloria, who said, we're like oneness. I'll take care of me, and you guys take care of yourself. But that's not how our ancestors were. It was about that unity coming together. That has to happen for our children to be able to survive, because if they're not able to survive, we're going to have more African Americans committing suicide. All these things will happen because we have not set it up in this society today. So I can be reached at LinkedIn. Just chime in with me. I have articles that are going on all the time, and so just tap into me and we can have this conversation. Thank you.
Thank you so much for that. We appreciate you. And also thank you for what you are doing, the contribution you are making in the world. Thank you so much for that. All right, we move to Reverend Gloria Tino. So what is your final take in today's conversation? It really has been very valuable what you have been sharing here. And also let the people know what they can benefit from you and how they can reach you. Please go.
Okay. Thank you all very much. And again, thank you all who have managed to stay with us to the very end, and all those who are listening. Thank you all again for listening with your hearts. I think I've said a lot. I'll just end by saying what I do. I help spiritually conscious people heal generational trauma and reconnect with their ancestral roots by guiding them through transformative lineage healing practices. You can find me on LinkedIn and my website, which is gloriaogumbadejo.com, where you will see all the work I've been doing and the many people who have worked with me and their testimonies. I would love to connect with you, and let us remain interconnected. Alafia.
Alafia. Thank you so much, sister. Thank you so much for that. All right, Josiah, please share with the people what is your final take and let them know what they can benefit from you. I know that you have also services out there, your contribution. And yes, how can they find you?
I am predominantly on LinkedIn. I have a lot of followers on LinkedIn. I post regularly, so there's no way if you really are looking for me, you won't find me there. I also run a nonprofit, which I believe is the path that we must take to train by providing the tools and resources needed by underserved communities to remain gainfully employed in STEM, especially cybersecurity and AI is my focus. I am working really hard to get our young men and women into the workforce in this space because cybersecurity has become a technology focused area in the whole world, not just in the US. There are 3 million people right now. 3 million positions in that space. So I'm encouraging people to cross over to that field so they can earn high incomes, not just because high income is good, because it gives them time to do community work. You can be in Nigeria and you are working. You can be in the US and you're working anywhere. You can be in China, Japan, and you're working remotely, that gives you a whole lot of opportunity to minister and carry out your mission. So I'm encouraging people. I'm really passionate about it. I also do this because of the geopolitical ramification. The geopolitical political ramification is that China have moved their people to middle class. That means their services will be expensive. India have done the same thing. They are known for IT and cybersecurity. As a matter of fact, their bottom line is kind of crappy right now because anyone from India can make as much money as they could because of the relationships they have established. But we know in economics, people will go where it's affordable, and that's Africa. So I'm encouraging Africans to learn as much as they can in the skills and develop their skills within the technology space because it is already in them. The ingenuity lies there. So no matter what, if the world, it's a no-brainer. The world comes to Africa for natural resources. Are you telling me that the human brain there is not a part of it? Now think about that for a minute. You see where I'm going with that. So let's transfer the knowledge, whatever we know, to those who are down there. That way, their mind, their consciousness will travel and make money for them instead of their body living this space. And this is my contribution. I really believe in what I'm doing. Lastly, but not the least, is the AI. A lot of us here are not aware that the AI, large language model, is not really designed in favor of ethnic language speakers. And I found that they have something called back translation, which hurts ethnic language speakers. Like someone here says, I think Tinu and Gwendolyn, they talked about it. Learning English is not being educated, but you have to learn a lot more than that. So with what we are building in AI, it's gonna make it possible for people in places that you never heard of to contribute in that economy, intelligence quotient economy or AI driven economy. So these people will contribute moving forward. And to do that, we need you guys' help. Those that speak these languages, we're trying to come up with a dictionary, 1 million word dictionary in Yoruba, Igbo, Yoruba, Hausa. So that way we can build a what we call multi-language model by removing the imprint of those foreign languages and including the scripts and the romanized sounds of our own so that we can have build the world in our own image as well so we can carry our authentic self along with us. If you're not a part of the technology, you've missed out. So you're going to serve whoever created it because those who create technology transfer their ideology and their culture in them, as well as everything else you've seen in the world. If you're not a part of it, you serve it. So support us. If you know people that understand these languages, tell them about what we're building is an open source project, which means we're not asking you for nothing. We're just asking you to contribute a part of it because it's for greater good. It's going to help the young population in the region to be a part of technology. If we don't do this, then we'll be absorbed and we will not have the proper, authentic representation of our language and as well as our culture. And your culture is your strength. It's in your root. And your root is everything. Thank you.
Thank you so much for that, Josiah. Thank you. I appreciate you and also for the service that you are rendering to the community. Thank you so much for that. And thanks to all of you here that have participated in the VIP launch. I really appreciate you. And of course, also to those in the audience. I see Jeffrey, Sam Hall, and Shirley. Thank you so much for being there and listening to us. We appreciate you. And also those that we listen to us later because the room is recorded. Of course, we are here every 40 days. Every 40 days, we pick a topic of interest to us. Like, for example, this particular one that will be very interesting about creative, inclusive spaces for dialogue, healing, and reconciliation. Because again, like we said at the beginning, it is our job to do this. We can't expect somebody to do it for us. It is something that we cannot also postpone to tomorrow. It should have been done yesterday, but today is the best day, another best day to do it. So we must do it. We show up, and we show up as we say we are going to show up.